2.5 miles beneath the Atlantic. There is no light, no sound, no warmth. Only the ruins of a ship the world once swore could never sink. For 73 years, she lay here, lost. Her name, a question the ocean refused to answer. This is the story of the night she vanished. Belfast, 1909. Before she was a tragedy, she was a promise. 15,000 men, 3 years. 3 million rivets, driven by hand. A hull taller than a city block. A machine so vast, her makers believed they had finally outbuilt the sea itself. They called her Unsinkable. The word would haunt them forever. Inside, she was not a ship. She was a palace that floated. Hand-carved oak. Crystal that caught the light like fire. A staircase grand enough for kings, crowned by a glass dome that poured sunlight onto the wealthiest passengers alive. Out here, on the open ocean, money had built a dream that could not fail. Or so they believed. April 10th, 1912. Southampton. The whole world, it seemed, had come to watch her leave. Mothers lifted their children to wave. A horn sounded, deep enough to feel in your chest. And as the greatest ship ever built slipped from the dock, not one soul on that pier imagined they were saying goodbye forever. They came from every corner of the world. Industrialists worth millions, climbing aboard with valets and steamer trunks. And below them in steerage, families who had sold everything they owned for a single ticket and a chance at a new life in America. 2,200 souls, each one certain the future was waiting. Above the waterline, 2 worlds sailed side by side. In first class, a 7-course dinner beneath glittering light. Champagne and laughter that never seemed to end. Just decks below, the families of steerage made their own joy. Fiddles, dancing, songs in a dozen languages. For 4 golden days, both worlds believed they were perfectly, completely safe. But the dream had a furnace at its heart. Far below the dancing, in heat that could kill a man, hundreds of stokers fed the fires, shovel after shovel, ton after ton, around the clock. They never saw the chandeliers. They never tasted the champagne. Sunday, April 14th. In the wireless room, the messages began to arrive. Ice, ice ahead. One ship, then another, warning of a field of frozen mountains drifting straight across her path. But the messages were many, and the operators were busy, and the ship did not slow. She raced on through the afternoon, straight toward the cold. Night fell, and the sea turned to glass. No wind, no waves. A cold so sharp it stung the lungs. High in the crow's nest, 2 lookouts strained into the dark. But there was no moon, and a flat black ocean hides its monsters well. Somewhere ahead in the silence, something was waiting. 11:40 p.m., a shape in the dark. Iceberg, right ahead. The wheel turned hard. The ship groaned. For 37 endless seconds she swung, almost clear. And then, far below the waterline, ice tore along her side like a knife. Up in the warm cabins, the passengers felt only a faint, distant shiver. At first, no one was afraid. Passengers picked up chunks of ice from the deck like souvenirs, laughing, and went back to bed. But deep in the belly of the ship, in the mailroom, in the holds, the engineers saw the truth. The sea was coming in, faster than any pump could fight. The unsinkable ship had less than 3 hours to live. Then came the order. Women and children first, and then came the horror no one had prepared for. 20 lifeboats for 2,200 people. Barely enough for half. In the chaos, the first boats were lowered nearly empty. While up on the deck, husbands kissed their wives goodbye and stepped back into the dark. As the bow sank lower, the deck began to tilt. And in the middle of the chaos, something unforgettable happened. The ship's musicians, 8 men who could have run, picked up their instruments instead and played. They played to calm the terrified. They played until the very end. Not one of them survived. 2:20 a.m. The lights blazed one final time and went black. With a roar no survivor would ever forget, the great ship broke in two and slipped beneath the surface. And then she was gone. Where the largest ship in the world had been, there was only the sea, the stars, and the cries of 1,500 people in water cold enough to kill in minutes. One by one, the voices faded, and then there was silence. Dawn. Out of the freezing dark came the Carpathia. And from her decks, the survivors finally saw what was left. A handful of lifeboats, scattered across an empty, ice-strewn sea. 700 saved, 1,500 lost. And as the news reached the world, an entire age of certainty sank with her. For 73 years, she stayed lost until 1985, when a ghostly light found her at last, sleeping in the dark. Today, robots drift through her silent halls. And still, the world cannot look away. 100 years on, her story fills our books, our museums, our films, retold again and again and again. Because the Titanic was never just a ship. She was a dream the sea swallowed whole, and a reminder that nothing and no one is ever truly unsinkable. Thanks for watching.